Tonight, breaking the law. The UK COVID inquiry hears rules were broken on a daily basis in 10 Downing Street during the pandemic.
I would find it hard to pick a one day when the regulations were followed properly inside that building.
Also making the headlines, schools out.
What do we want? More money! When do we want it? Now!
Tens of thousands of pupils have a day away from the classroom as non-teaching staff take strike action over pay.
A couple whose Greenock home was targeted in a robbery say they feared they would be killed by their attackers.
And in sport, we're at Celtic Park ahead of a huge night in the Scottish Premiership as Celtic get set for their first match since banning the Green Brigade.
And Hearts and Livingston are both desperate to get back to winning ways. I'll be live from Tynecastle ahead of a battle in the East.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The revelations about the conduct and chaos in Downing Street during the pandemic continued today. A former senior UK government official claims COVID rules were broken on a daily basis at Number 10. Helen McNamara was the Deputy Cabinet Secretary during the pandemic.
She told the UK COVID inquiry Boris Johnson failed to tackle a toxic culture at the heart of his government. Ms McNamara also expressed regret for her part in rule-breaking gatherings. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie reports.
Helen McNamara was first in the spotlight after being fined for attending a Number 10 party during lockdown.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly.
Today, the former Deputy Cabinet Secretary was giving evidence to the UK COVID inquiry. She described a bullish and dismissive culture in Number 10, a breezy confidence the UK would sail through the crisis.
There was a sort of de facto assumption that we were going to be great without any of the hesitancy or questioning or that sort of behind closed doors bit of government, which isn't about saying everything's smashing and going brilliantly, but actually being a bit more reflective and checking that everything's going to be quite as great as we'd like it to be. Sitting there and saying it was great and sort of laughing at the Italians was it just felt completely, well, it felt how it sounds.
The inquiry also heard the moment in March 2020 when Ms McNamara warned Boris Johnson's team the NHS faced being overwhelmed.
I have come through here to the Prime Minister's office to tell you all, I think we're absolutely f***ed. I think this country is heading for a disaster. I think we're going to kill thousands of people.
It was a very, very scary experience, but I felt that it wasn't in any doubt in my mind at that point that we were heading for a total disaster.
Yesterday, the inquiry heard this message from former Chief Advisor Dominic Cummings about Ms McNamara.
I don't care how it's done, but that woman must be out of our hair. We cannot keep dealing with this horrific meltdown of the British state while dodging stilettos from that
It's horrible to read, but it is both surprising and not surprising to me. It's disappointing to me that the Prime Minister didn't pick him up on the use of some of that violent and misogynistic language.
She also expressed profound regret for her role in Partygate, which included providing a karaoke machine for a leaving do. However, she said rule-breaking was rife at the heart of government.
I would find it hard to pick a one day when the regulations were followed properly inside that building. And I know that because, as I've said in my statement, there was one meeting where we absolutely adhered to the guidance to the letter, and that was the Cabinet meeting, and everybody moaned about it.
The inquiry also heard Ms McNamara described UK Health Secretary Matt Hancock showing nuclear levels of overconfidence.
But does it come back to the fact that Mr Hancock regularly was telling people things that they later discovered weren't true?
Yes.
Boris Johnson is due to give evidence before Christmas, with Nicola Sturgeon scheduled in the new year. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Tens of thousands of school pupils got a day off today as non-teaching staff in Glasgow, Renfrewshire, East Renfrewshire and Inverclyde walked out in the latest in a series of rolling strike action across the country.
It's all over a dispute about pay. Despite Unite and GMB unions accepting a deal, Unison members maintain the offer isn't good enough. Local authorities say a further increase is unaffordable. Vanessa Taff has the latest.
More money! When do we want it? Now!
It's a familiar sight at this picket line in Renfrewshire. Support workers, cleaning and catering staff all want more cash in their pockets.
The pay rise has been atrocious and we just get more work put on us and more children put on us and we're all at breaking point now. We can't all be working 2 and 3 jobs just to survive. We need a decent pay for what we do. And I know that parents are moaning that their children aren't in school, but that just shows what a good job that we do.
Unison members have rejected an offer which would see the lowest paid workers get a rise of about £2,000 a year. Unite and the GMB unions voted to accept, but these members argue there's a better deal to be had.
This is part of a rolling programme of action and it's to signal to COSLA that our members are not backing down and it would be very unwise for COSLA leaders to take any decision to impose a pay offer that 9 out of 10 of our members have chosen to reject.
Many of the young people who'll be off school today because of this strike action have faced 4 years of disruption to their education. With COVID closures, homeschooling and many strike days, parents say they're fed up.
Sympathy is waning a bit because parents are now just starting to feel quite frustrated that their child's education and their child's routine is just constantly being disrupted.
Council leaders will meet on Friday to discuss a deal which could bring an end to the action. Currently, further strikes are due to take place again next week in Edinburgh and Fife. Vanessa Taff, STV News in Glasgow.
Our political editor Colin Mackay has been following this. So Colin, any sign of a deal?
Well, as Vanessa says, there are more strikes planned, certainly, for Edinburgh, for South Lanarkshire and Fife next Wednesday. There's strikes the week after that planned for Stirling and Clackmannan. But this week, it's beginning to look like there are some signs that we could get a deal that could put off those strikes. The latest offer, which has already been accepted by Unite and the GMB, would cost the councils and the Scottish Government an extra £80 million. Now, COSLA and Unison met on Monday for further talks, and basically, if the Scottish Government and COSLA can come up with an extra £17 million on top of that to backdate all the pay for all the council workers to April, then they could get a deal that could be in pay packets in time for Christmas. But if COSLA backtracks on that at all, or if it was to impose the current pay offer, then we could see council strikes getting a lot worse.
Colin and Holyrood, thank you.
Now, as the Israel-Palestine conflict continues, calls for a ceasefire are growing louder from those fearing for the lives of children. Here, people gathered in Glasgow's George Square commemorating the thousands who've already lost their lives.
A midwife has told STV News that hospitals running low on fuel will soon need to turn off the incubators that are keeping premature babies alive. We should warn you, Caitlin Hutchison's report contains images of people injured in the conflict.
A death toll nearing 10,000, just under half of them children, after almost a month of fierce fighting on the ground and heavy bombing. Here at home, midwife Sharon Locke is holding a 5-day fast outside Holyrood in solidarity with the people of Palestine.
All the hospitals have said that they're extremely short on fuel. The life support machines will go, the baby incubators will go. Maybe they only need a few days of that support, but there will be a time when the doctors will speak to whoever is with someone on life support or whoever has a baby in an incubator and says, come now. This will end now. Say goodbye.
In Glasgow, this token of remembrance for the thousands of children already killed in Gaza. Doa's family are trapped there and she can't sleep at night for worry.
My mother and my siblings, my nephew and my nieces, they all are had to flee the house, and for the last 3 weeks, just one text message by day, just to tell me that they have managed to make another night, that they are survived. It's terrifying. There is no word to describe actually what I'm feeling at the moment.
More than 1 million children are caught up in the conflict, left without access to water, food, medicines and shelter.
I think I speak for a lot of mothers here that when we see those children, we see our own children.
It's not fair that the children in Gaza are dying and we're over here just sleeping normally. They don't see anything except their mums and brothers dying.
It is appalling what is happening right now to parents and children in Gaza.
Earlier, the first foreign nationals left Gaza after the Rafah crossing to Egypt finally opened, allowing their safe passage. But it's understood the family of the First Minister and other UK nationals are not currently on the list of those who can leave. And Israel's Prime Minister has warned of suffering to come.
We are in a harsh war. It will also be a long war. We have important achievements, but also painful losses. We will continue until the mission is complete.
However long the conflict may last, wishes and messages of hope will continue to be sent from the international community. Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
Let's take a look at other stories now. And the American fugitive Nicholas Rossi will appear in court in Edinburgh next month in a last-chance legal bid to prevent his extradition back to the United States. The 35-year-old, who's wanted for sex offences, will represent himself when he addresses the Court of Criminal Appeal to argue the Scottish Government was wrong to authorise the decision to send him back to the US.
Riot police were out in the streets of Dundee last night as groups set fires, blocked roads, lit fireworks and damaged property. The Tayside City's council leader called those involved morons. It's a year since Halloween riots saw mobs rampage through the streets in the same area.
The campaign group For Women Scotland has lost a legal challenge against the Scottish Government. The Court of Session has ruled that a man with a gender recognition certificate does fall within the definition of a woman in certain circumstances, such as the appointment of a gender-balanced board in public bodies.
NHS dentists will receive increased fees for some treatments from today. The new payment structure is aimed at streamlining payments and giving dentists greater authority over the treatments offered. A couple whose Greenock home was targeted in a robbery 12 weeks ago say they feared they would be killed by their attackers. Gordon and Pauline McCletchy have now released video footage of their frightening ordeal in the hope it will prompt somebody to come forward with information. Brandon Cook reports.
This is the disturbing moment. Two masked men kicked their way into the home of Gordon and Pauline McCletchy. CCTV footage picks up the screams as the couple came face to face with their armed intruders.
By the time we'd run out to the hallway, there was two guys, one in front of the other. The first one was near at the top of the stairs with a big sword machete in his hand. The other guy was behind him. He looked like he had either a sword or something in his hand. And they were shouting, "Where's your money? Where's your safe?" We shouted back, "We don't have any money and we certainly don't have a safe."
The couple barricaded themselves in their bedroom whilst the two men hacked at the door with blades and ransacked the house. Their next-door neighbours heard the commotion and phoned the police. Eventually, the pair fled with a handful of belongings and a three-figure sum of cash. 12 weeks on from the ordeal, the perpetrators are still at large and the shock of that night lingers.
Do you know, every morning I get up and I keep living in hope that someone has came forward. The trauma that we came through during this was horrendous. And I honestly thought that night that we were going to die.
You don't break someone's door down, run up their stairs with a sword in your hand if it's there for a reason, and that reason is not one only to scare you, but to use if need be. So yeah, we're more than 100% sure if things had turned out worse or turned out differently, it would have been a hell of a lot worse.
Detectives say inquiries to the robbery on Fife Road are ongoing. They urge anyone with information to contact them. Gordon and Pauline say that night won't define them and are determined to move on.
This could have been their house, the parents' house,
Well, that's it.
their grandparents' house. How would they feel if that happened to a member of their family?
Brandon Cook, STV News, Greenock.
Other stories in the West, and police say a man who died in Renfrew was murdered. Alistair Campbell died shortly after being found seriously injured at a property on Renfield Street early on Monday morning. Officers say the 52-year-old had been seriously assaulted by two men. Both are described as white, and one was wearing a dark tracksuit and dark trainers, while the other had on a light jacket, dark trousers and dark trainers. They're appealing for anyone with information to come forward. A man is facing jail after more than £1 million worth of cryptocurrency was stolen during a violent robbery. John Ross Delfonso was found guilty of having the digital cash in his account following the late-night raid at a house in Lanarkshire in March 2020. The attack saw a woman badly injured after being struck with a Toblerone chocolate bar. It's thought to be the first robbery in Scotland involving stolen cryptocurrency. Now, it's a miserable night in November, so ideal for Scottish football to be played. Ronnie brings us the sport from Parkhead.
Yes, indeed, John. Thank you. Very good evening from Celtic Park ahead of a huge night in the Scottish Premiership. We will be previewing all the big games up and down the country. None more so than here is arguably game of the night. First v third as Celtic take on St Mirren. Brendan Rodgers' men looking to bounce back after that 0-0 draw against Hibs at the weekend. Only the second time this season the champions have dropped points, but 6 of the next 9 league matches for Celtic are at home, and Rodgers is hoping his players can raise their game for the run-in ahead.
I do know we love playing at home and we've got the support behind us, but our focus is very much on a performance level, and once we bring that to the levels that we expect, then we know that we can be a really difficult team to play against, with and without the ball. So that's our notion, to continue with that level and make it really, really challenging for teams to play against us.
Well, in their away tonight is high-flying St Mirren, one of the stories of the season so far. Currently third in the table, for Stephen Robinson's men. And after the 4-0 win over St Johnstone at the weekend, this is the best start to a top-flight campaign for the Buddies in 91 years. But the manager, Stephen Robinson, is warning his players not to get ahead of themselves as they head to Celtic Park.
It's a start. You used the word start. It's not been finished. We've not achieved anything. We've literally had a fantastic start, as you pointed out, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. And it's now a case of, can we maintain that? We have a difficult fixture tomorrow night, so obviously it's one we have to overcome first of all. But we go with confidence.
Well, tonight's match is also dominated by off-field issues. This is the first game at Celtic Park since the club banned the fans group, the Green Brigade. Since then, in the last few hours, the Green Brigades have responded with a statement describing the sanctions as unfair, bereft of policy, process and communication, with individuals wrongly being punished. Celtic made the decision due to what they say were repeated incidents of unacceptable behaviour. We've been gauging the reaction to this incident and this process from Celtic fans this evening.
It's a disgrace.
Do you think so?
Yeah, of course it is.
Why do you think it's a disgrace?
Because people should be allowed to express their opinions, and not be stifled.
Tonight, best thing.
Good, best thing that could happen.
Yeah. Really? And what's that?
Yeah. Well, look at how much does it cost the club?
Exactly.
So they think they run the club, but they dinna.
The Palestinian cause is dear to every Celtic supporter's heart, right? And the people in Gaza, and they're suffering. So they should not have been barred for that. But some of their other activities, nobody could condone.
Kick-off tonight, 7:45, and as we mentioned, not just big games here in Glasgow, big games across the country, and including the capital, a cracker as Hearts take on Livingston. Our man Jamie Borthwick is there for us tonight. Jamie.
Yes, Ronnie, big news yesterday that Livingston had turned down an approach to speak to manager David Martindale from St Johnstone. Martindale is here tonight looking to get his side back on track after back-to-back defeats. But for Hearts, well, their form hasn't been too rosy either. And for Stephen Naismith, he's determined to post a statement performance in front of what's going to be a big crowd here at Tynecastle.
We get a chance again 2 days after to
turn the wrongs that we had on Sunday around, you know. So I think it's massive to have these big games that are great for everyone to stand up in and, you know, really grab the game, put their stamp on it and show everyone that, you know, we're here, we want to win games.
Whoever the managers have been over the last few years, it's not going to be any different to our approach. We're going to Tynecastle. We'll have a game plan to try and nullify their threats, and we'll try and impose our strengths on Hearts and try and pick up the 3 points.
Livingston can actually leapfrog Hearts if they get a win today, such as the tightness in the Premiership table. For Hearts, all their focus is going to be on regaining their place in the top 6. There's no new injury news for either side. The squads have arrived here at Tynecastle behind me, and the team news will be posted up in the next few minutes.
Jamie at Tynecastle, thank you very much for that. Well, as we mentioned tonight, the weather's not too great here in Glasgow, but it's certainly not been any better up in Dundee. We were worried about the future of Dundee v Rangers tonight. Thankfully, at the moment, the match is on. Rangers have travelled up to the city of Discovery, where Philippe Clement is looking to continue his unbeaten start as Rangers manager. From Dens Park, Chris Harvey sends this update.
Yes, that's absolutely right, Ronnie. There was a little bit of doubt in the minds of many, not just me, on the way to Dens Park tonight, that the rain will have taken its toll on the match, but the game is on. The pitch has beaten the weather. It's slick, it's a little bit heavy in the goalmouths, but we are expecting a cracking 90 minutes. Well, Rangers manager Philippe Clement has found a way to win at Ibrox in the league, but tonight is his first test on the road. 7 key players missing, but he's demanding his charges tonight treat this just as importantly as a cup tie or a European match.
They're all big games. There are no easy games or games that you just throw away. So I want an ambitious squad. I want people who are ambitious every day, not only the games, also in the training. So there's totally no difference for me about this game or the last game or the next game, no.
But what of opponents? Dundee. Well, at the weekend they were sitting in 10th, but a victory at Livingston's propelled them up to 5th in the table, and they want to build on that victory and come away with a performance and a result tonight that will keep them in the top 6. Tony Docherty fully expecting a tough challenge from Rangers, but believes he's got enough football in his team that he can punch a hole in the Gers. We'll find out tonight. Kick-off here at Dens Park is at 7:45.
Well, there's also a huge night in Lanarkshire as Motherwell welcome Aberdeen. The Steelmen ended a run of 4 games, losing all those matches at the weekend after a late fight back in their 3-3 draw with Ross County. Manager Stuart Kettlewell hopes the character shown in that match can inspire his side to victory this evening.
The challenge came that we've lost four games straight, and you know I'll not bore you again by going into how we felt we played in those games, but ultimately lost 4 games. So scoring in the 93rd minute, 94th minute on Saturday, I hope is then that little bit that breaks the cycle of losing games of football, and hopefully it teases up to what's going to. Listen, it's going to be a real challenge over the next couple of weeks. Of course it is.
Kilmarnock manager Derek McInnes is urging his players to continue their winning run at the moment after back-to-back wins over Livingston and Aberdeen. Kelly currently sitting 4th in the Scottish Premiership and head to Perth this evening to face managerless St Johnstone.
The longer teams like ourselves can go unbeaten and have winning runs throughout the season, and if we can have a few of them spread out the course of the season, then it will certainly help our aims. So that's the job again, just to try and get similar level of performance. I think the performance is key. Obviously it's the biggest factor in terms of getting any type of result that you want.
Now to the fallout from last night's Scottish Premiership match, and Hibs have condemned a racist message sent to midfielder Alan Delferriere and are working with Instagram in order to identify the offender. The abuse was sent after Hibs surrendered a 2-goal lead to draw with Ross County. Cher Tavares netted his first goal for the club, but Delferriere's own goal and then a Jordan White strike ensured it was a point apiece at Easter Road. Finally tonight, news from the Scotland women's camp, and goalkeeper Sandy McKeever says she has mixed emotions after making her debut at Hampden last night in the 1-0 defeat to the Netherlands in the Nations League. The result leaves the Dark Blues rooted to the bottom of the table, still looking for their first win of the competition. Pedro Martinez Los's side have 2 games left of their group.
The pride I've got to put on the Scotland shirt was, and to step out at Hampden Park was unbelievable, to be honest. Obviously disappointed for the score to go the way it's gone. I thought the response from Friday was exactly what we wanted. I thought everyone in front of me put an unbelievable shift in. Unfortunately, we've not come out of anything, which is frustrating.
And that is all your sport tonight, folks.
Well, from a rainy Celtic Park. Thanks very much, Ronnie. OK, let's get the weather forecast now from Sean.
An icy start to the day will give way to a series of oohs and ahs. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
A very good evening to you. What a horrible start it was to the day. If you were standing at the bus stop, train station, walking to work or school, temperatures about 5 to 7 degrees with battering rain. At least things did improve a wee bit through the afternoon. We've had some heavy showers. Over the next 24 hours, it's all about Storm Ciarán, which is going to batter France, England and Wales. There they could get gusts of wind up to 80 miles per hour, and there'll be lots of rain. Here in the west of Scotland, we're actually going to get off with the best of the weather. It looks as if it's going to be across southern, more eastern parts that will see the worst of the conditions. Temperatures tonight down to about 2 or 3 degrees Celsius. It should become largely dry. Most of those showers easing away. Right on the edge of Storm Ciarán, we're going to see lots of rain coming into eastern parts tomorrow, but the further west we go, especially across Argyll and Bute here, we'll hang on to the best of the drier, brighter weather, also across the West Highlands as well. And our temperatures probably about 10, 11 degrees, not feeling too bad in the sunshine here, but for many central and eastern areas we will see that heavier rain setting in through the afternoon and the wind picking up as well, particularly the further east we go, and feeling quite chilly with the cloud, the rain and the wind. But again, it's western areas where we hang on to the best of the weather during Friday and Saturday across eastern parts. Once again, they'll hang on to showers, and with that rain and showers still affecting eastern areas, if you're heading over there, possibility of some flooding. But yes, for us, it stays drier and brighter, temperatures around double figures. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And that's it. A glorious evening ahead.
Indeed, indeed. And we're back again tomorrow at 6. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Good night.